All right, so we're a little late today. We had a major issues with our systems today, but hey, I appreciate you guys still tuning in. We're still going live, about an hour late. But hey, guys, we're here. We have the amazing Omar Periu with us. He is an amazing mentor. I mean, I know this man personally. Has helped me to go from pretty much nothing to what we are today. But I want to make sure that today let's talk about what is influence and persuasion when it comes down to business. Influence and persuasion in life, influence and persuasion in everything that we do. How does that affect us? How can we improve upon? And how can we move forward to actually create wealth overall? Well, that's one of the main things that I know Mr. Omar Periu teaches and live and breathe how to help you and mentor you in how to create wealth so you can leave a better legacy for your family and everybody. But let me introduce, once again, we got the amazing Mr. Omar Periu with us.
Hey, thank you. Thank you, Brock. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, everyone. Yes, today we're going to talk about influence and persuasion. And, everything's, as they say, shifting with the recession. And I think that people really need to work on their influence and persuasion and how to sell. Because as Zig Ziglar taught me, selling is everything. And Tom Hopkins said, selling is finding the people to sell and selling the people you find. So when you
Wow.
find people to sell and
I
you
gotta
want to,
write that down. I gotta write that down.
yeah, that was Tom
Say that again.
Hopkins.
That was
Yeah, my mentor Tom Hopkins used to say, selling is finding the people to sell and selling the people you find.
mm,
So to do that, you've got to know what to say, how to say it, and that's what we're going to talk about today: how to become a master influencer and persuader and move people to yes. That's what we're going to talk about.
awesome, 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 awesome. But we also have Mr. Brock Bertolo. Mr. Brock Bertolo, man, he's an amazing, not only credit expert, he works with us at Credit Assassins and 360 Business Vantage. So, hey, good morning, Brock. How
Hey,
you doing
thanks,
today?
Carlos. Omar, as always, it's great to see you and hear from you. So let me kind of kickstart this with the first question, right? So our topic today is influence and persuasion. Let's define those. What exactly is influence and persuasion?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because a lot of times, right now, everything's changed. In the old days, influence and persuasion was more like how people did it in as entrepreneurs and corporations and companies, right? So influence. So let's break it down. First, in that category, influence is getting people to follow you, right? So getting people to follow you. So a great leader is able to inspire people to follow them, right? There's people that know how to manage people, but then there's influencers that know how to get people to move. And the way you get people to in the business, entrepreneur, corporate company world, the way you get them to follow you is in many ways. Number one, first, they you they work with you, so they kind of like have to, right? But that's not influence. That's kind of like you got a boss,
You got to
right?
do what you got to do.
You
Yeah.
Right.
gotta do.
And influence comes from when you show people and mentor them how to do things better, right? And then influence really becomes big uh, when you're able to do something for someone that they wouldn't have done themselves,
Got
right?
it.
So this is all from my book, From Management to Leadership, and it talks about different levels of influence. Now, that's influence in a corporation, entrepreneur, and companies. Influencers are now a new category. So there's influencers like my friend Kevin Harrington's an influencer.
Yeah.
Um, you would say the Kardashians are influencers. There's a lot of these YouTube kids that are influencers. So they influence people by who they are,
Yeah.
right? So they get, like, for instance, they get paid a lot of money every day, every week, every month, every year to tell people to go to this or go to that. Elon Musk is an influencer, right?
Hmm.
So you've got people that Richard Branson's an influencer, Tony Robbins an influencer. These are people that have big followings, like Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Grant Cardone. These are
Sure.
people that have big followings that people follow them because of who they are, right? So when you say the difference between influence and influence can be like you're in a company that your people are following you, or influencers are people that are huge followings that can do that. Now, persuasion is a different thing. Persuasion is knowing how to move people to yes, right?
Yeah.
And that's where I'm a master at. I'm in the top 10 in the world for platform sales. And the reason I am is because when I speak, and any of you that see me speak, people go to the tables or people go and click on their links to buy from me because I have a gift. And I know it's a gift that I have because I think people look at me and go, well, if that guy can become a multimillionaire, what am I going to be a gazillionaire, right? So
Yeah. Of
yeah,
course.
I didn't. I came from Cuba. I couldn't speak English. I didn't get a degree. I built all these different companies. I still have multiple streams of income. And when I speak, I think people, first of all, align with me, like me. They align with me because they're like me. Number two, I think they see that I have now created the tools to teach them how to do what I've done.
Mhm.
And what a mentor does, as you know, Carlos and Brock, is
Yeah.
they give you leverage. They leverage you what they know. So what they know gives you leverage, so you don't have to waste time and you
Yeah.
save time and get there quicker. So influence to me is there's 10 steps actually, 10 steps to influence,
Wow.
and we'll talk about that more. But let's get into the other. Do you have any other questions before I get
No,
into
no,
those?
but you know what? And I like to add to that. So coming from the military too. So again, so being in the military, leadership was one of the, one of the things that you need to be a leader in order to be, especially leading troops, going to war, actually doing the day in and day out, just like in corporate America and every other company. And you don't have to be the top to be a leader. You could lead from the bottom too, and that's one thing that you are taught. So doing my thesis, when I did my thesis, where I went to school to, and again, I never used my degrees, but I have a master's in organizational leadership, and I was gonna go to get my doctorate in organizational leadership because leadership is one of those things that has always been close to my heart, especially because I love to lead people. I love to take them to one place to the other one and make sure that they are successful. And one of my theses, I did it on Dr. John Maxwell, and one of the things that he says is that leadership is influence, nothing else, nothing more. So the
Right,
art of influencing somebody to actually do something, right or wrong. Because if you see even the worst dictators in the world, they've been able to influence people. Now, ethically and morally, they were not there, but they
right,
had the art of influencing people to do even the wrong of things.
right.
Now, when we're talking about persuasion too, it's like you coercing somebody. You might be able to get them to get to the point of where you want them to go, but persuasion is either the art of coercion to get somebody to do something. But it could be right too. But like you are master of persuasion, but you ethically do because you care for people and want them to actually be better. And you actually get people to buy when they really know that they should be doing. And we always got that buying that buyer's remorse and but then when you actually are able to allow them or show them the picture of what they could be in the future, that's when you persuade them to take a step to the better. So
Well,
yeah, again,
yeah,
I just want to go ahead.
I
Very true.
think that you have to, as a persuader,
Mhm.
you have to understand the benefits and point them out to people and the features and give them tons of reasons to buy, and then paint pictures of success.
Yes.
So you've got to paint pictures of results, because results is the name of the game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are online and they really have just taken somebody else's stuff, or they've gotten certified and then now they're experts, but that's great. I mean, at least they're trying. But to really understand influence, I think you have to have a care for people, and you have to be a consultant, and you got to find out what their wants, needs, issues, timeframes, budgets, all those things are.
Yeah.
And then you have to find out where, as the pain pleasure principle is, right? So
Yeah.
pain pleasure principle is whenever you are selling someone or influencing, I don't call it uh, manipulating. I think it's more of guiding people to the right answer.
Yeah.
So so you got to like look at the way that works, because most people don't understand that selling someone is helping them find what's right for them, service, products, or themselves, right? And most people, if you ask the right questions and you find out what their hurts are, the pain pleasure principle, their wounds, and you
Yeah.
go and find out, go deep into the wounds, then you can give them the solution, and the solution will be what they really want. So for me, selling has always been helping people to yes by understanding what their wants, needs, issues are, and filling those wants, needs, and issues with a better answer. And that's
Correct.
what I mean. There are steps that people have to master to have sales mastery. And as you know, I have the #1 program in sales, investigative selling,
Yeah.
and there are certain steps. The first thing you need to know is you got to turn yourself on, right, and get prepared. So you got to be a self starter, get yourself prepared, turn yourself on, know your competitors, right? Know your products and services, and wake up with a plan. I have a little saying: any entrepreneur that wakes up without a plan is unemployed, right? So I mean, it's true.
That's awesome.
And the other thing that I've always wanted people to learn is #1, know your products and services, know your competitors, know the objections that are going to come up. If you know your objections, you're going to sell better, and then turn yourself on. Now, from 1 to 10, your goal should be to at least be at like a 8 to 10,
Yeah.
from 1 being dead and 8 to 10 being at the top of your game. Now, the other thing is you got to be careful of the amount that you use, right?
Yes.
Because if you talked, they talk about modeling personalities, and like when you meet someone, you want to match their rate of speech, tone
Hmm.
of voice,
Yeah.
volume, speed of the way they talk, all that, body language, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But if you come on too strong, Jim Rohn, my mentor, used to say, you can uh, you can shoot a cannon at a rabbit, but if you do, there's not going to be a rabbit left,
Mm.
right?
Got it.
So
But
what you
you know
need,
what? And you know what? Before you continue, also talk about this, because a lot of people are hearing what you're saying, and there's two spectrums right here. A lot of people had a negative connotation when it comes down to sales,
yeah,
because they've been sold the wrong thing and they don't like sales, and I don't want to do sales. I mean, you probably hear this. I don't like sales. A lot of people don't like sales, but you
yeah,
know that you are selling yourself every single day with everything you do, even to trying to get your spouse to actually change or choose something to eat tonight. You are
right.
selling something there, and everything that we do. So yeah, talk about that. How should people see sales differently? Because that's
Well,
when
I've
persuasion
been,
and influence come about.
yeah. Well, let's talk. Well, so one of the joys that I've had for many years is being the one of the 4 approved trainers for the U.S. Army.
Yes.
Um, and so here you think about it. You got a tanker, infantry, a cook, whatever, and they're handed papers for 2 years minimum to become a salesperson. And they didn't sign up for the military to be a salesperson. So it's my job to teach them how to recruit men and women into the U.S. Army, right? Or
Correct.
the Coast Guard I also work with. So you got to realize that selling is something that everyone should master, the art of persuasion, because if as long as you love what you do and you believe in what you do. I always say to people, how many believe in what you do? How many believe that everybody should own your products and services?
Mhm.
How many believe that everybody wins when they own your products and services? Well, I believe in what I do. So what I say is you got to believe in what you do, right? #2, then you add the sales skills that I teach, and you're able to move people to yes by using natural techniques as a consultant. But selling is everyone should learn how to sell. Everyone, because as you said, whether you're selling your partner, or you're selling your team, or you're selling someone to buy your products or services, or sometimes you got to sell yourself, right? So, I mean, if you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see, you better change that image of yourself and start selling yourself. So,
Hey, when you
Sales,
dress, when you wear a suit, where a woman dresses wears a dress, I mean, you got to sell yourself, especially when you go into. And again, no, we don't want to take it the wrong way, but it's you selling yourself in everything you do. And I must
Yeah, I mean,
admit,
guys, you know, like Omar, I know I don't even hold a candle from your experience, but you know, in my career, I've hired hundreds and hundreds and trained hundreds of sales representatives, and I find that my best sales reps aren't necessarily the guys with the most experience. They're the ones who are completely bought into what they're selling, right? They're the ones that would buy their own product that they're selling, right? So it starts from the inside of really knowing what it is you do and being assured that, hey, I'm solving a problem by selling what I'm selling, right? So you know, and I find that that's really the key when we're looking for, you know, really great sales representatives or somebody who's, you know, going to really last long with our business, is those individuals that are willing to really learn the most, and then they understand that they're truly helping people and they would buy a product.
right? And they got to be coachable because you know
100%.
you got to be coachable to be in sales, because the moment you start thinking you know everything about sales, you're really, that's it. And
Yeah.
we meet a lot of those people. I call them ayustas. You know, they used to be the top producer, but not no more. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Don't love people for what they've done. Love them for what they're doing.
Right. And like, you know, Jim Rohn says, if you've been in business for more than 6 months and you haven't made any money, he called them a motivated idiot. You know, they're motivated, but they haven't made any money, right? He's, you know, you see him at the seminars slapping each other and jumping around, but you know that
Right.
that person's not making any money, so he called them motivated. He was
Yeah,
pretty
I mean,
funny. He had
going
some,
off of that, Omar, like the things that I would always look for when I'm hiring are those things that require absolutely no talent, right? So punctuality, you know, coachability, as you said. There's so many other aspects out there
Yeah.
that you don't need talent to be great, and those, in my eyes, are the most important when looking for like a truly professional sales representative.
yeah, well, I look for someone that's also a self-starter.
Mhm.
Because you know you're now with our virtual world, you're not going to be able to come to their home and goose them every morning, right? So you've got to like find self-starters that are coachable, that want to learn. I believe that people that are really great salespeople are curious, like you said, about their products and services. I think they're curious about what they do. I think they're interested in what they do. I think they want to seek knowledge in what they do. I think they have a purpose. Got to have a purpose. So, you know, if you wake up and you don't have a why,
There you
then
go.
those people, you know, why are you doing what you're doing? Well, money, you know, they've done research. Money is not the only motivator for most people. If you look at people that are wealthy, it's not the money, it's the recognition, it's the security, it's the self helping others. It's more than money. Money might be the beginning. Like for me, my first goal was to have 6 months worth of income put away so I wouldn't have to stress. Second was to have an apartment that was bigger than 200 square feet. So, you know, I had a studio that, you know, I had a Murphy bed, the bathroom that was all like, I had a table that you pull the thing up, looked like I was like in an RV, you know, and so, you know, my second thing was to get a 1-bedroom apartment. That was my goal. The third thing was to get a car that had air conditioning. Right. So, I mean, I had small goals, but they were goals that were big for me. Now, the key is, as John Maxwell talks about, the law of the lid, the better, the more you get, the more you want to become, hopefully. Right.
Mhm.
You want to be part of that group. They say that people only use like 10% of their minds. You want to be part of the group that's living above the line. My goal is to always live above the line. No matter what my line is, my goal is to become better every day. And I got that from Brian Tracy. When I met Brian Tracy, I was 19 and a half years old. It's a long time ago, guys. And he said to me, your goal is to become better every day. And he'd always do it every day, become better every day, become better every day, become better every day. And he'd, you know, tell me that. And then tell yourself, you're the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. I'm the best. Become better every day. And he said, whatever you do, he said, even if you're going to take the dry cleaning, become better at taking the dry cleaning that day.
Yeah. And
Whatever
again, and talking about the law of the lead, also the law of attraction. is
Right.
if you become better at what you do, that's who you're going to attract to yourself and everything that you do, people that you hire. I mean, I don't know if you guys know Herb Callagher or Kelleher. He was one of the owners, CEO, billionaire of Southwest. One of the things that he used to say is, I don't hire people for the aptitude. I hire them because of the attitude. Same thing that as Brock was saying, I don't care what they know, but I want to know that they want to care about learning.
Right.
So, not hire someone by the aptitude, but the attitude.
Right. Now that we were talking about, the steps, of we're not going to cover all 10 today, but the second step is you need to connect with people when you
Yeah.
meet, whether it's on a Zoom, on a phone call, or face to face,
Right.
right? Or social media, right? You need to learn to connect with people, and people make a decision on you in 15 seconds, whether they want to do business with you or not. So the way I do it is I fully associate with people, and I really do have a caring and a concern for people. That's how I do it. So for me, whoever I'm talking to, their interest comes before mine.
Got it.
So that's the way I look at it. So the way I do that is I'm sincere, I keep it simple, and I have a little saying. Now the next step is to create interest. I have a little
Mm.
saying: until you create interest, you are nothing but an interruption.
Mm, I like that.
Right?
So
Because
in other words, nobody cares until you care for them, right?
right, because if you're calling people and selling them your products or services, or on social media, or on a Zoom, and you have not created interest for them, you're nothing but an interruption. Why should I switch companies if I'm talking to you? Well, you got to show me, have value added statements, show me benefits, point them out, talk about the features, give me tons of reasons, and show me how I'm going to get better results by using your product or service.
Got
And
it.
the only way you get that is by mastering what I teach. And it's not, look, we've all met people that are master salespeople that are bad, but we meet more, thank God,
Yeah.
people that are master salespeople that are good. So we want to be able to make sure that people understand that everything that you're learning here is for good, right? So
Yeah.
the way I do that is creating interest is I talk about different claims, like pointing out benefits. That's
Hmm.
and give big fat claims, right?
Got
And
it.
if you don't have these in your arsenal for your product or service, you're
Yeah.
missing out. Because if you have claims, why would I do business with you? That's my question. Because you got to show me that you're better, right? You got to be show me that you're better. Like my mentor Tom Hopkins, he teaches when you're qualifying people to use the acronym NEEDS, right? Like
Needs.
needs, but it's misspelled. So the first thing you ask people is, "What do you have now?" Meaning, what are you using now, right? So
Got
you
it.
want to find out what they have now, right?
Yeah.
The E in the needs is, what do you enjoy about what you have now? What do you enjoy about what you have now, right? Now the A, remember we misspelled the acronym needs. The
Yeah.
A in needs is, what would you like to alter, change, or improve about what you have now, right?
Wow.
Right. Then the next thing is the D is, are you the decision maker? Because I don't want to be talking to the person who can't make a decision. And then the S is, we come up with solutions. And I told you my little acronym that I use in all my programs and when I speak, is you got to be a PPS, a professional problem solver,
Professional
right?
problem solver.
PPS, professional problem solver. So if you follow just a few steps that we've covered right now, you just increase your ability to move people to yes for your product and service.
Mm,
Nice, nice. All right. So nowadays, a lot of people, we hear about the economy and everything. A lot of people have careers, they still have a job. Some are trying to venture into their own businesses. How can someone that's starting today or even in their job use persuasion or even influence to help them in their career, help them in their new business venture?
Yeah. Well, the first thing I would say is, you can use it to get a raise. You can use it to go to another level in your company. You
Mhm.
can, use it by selling more. The one thing about salespeople, and I always love sales because I've been in sales since I was a kid because I didn't have a
Yeah.
degree. The reason I love sales is because there's no income ceiling. You can give yourself a raise anytime you want.
Yeah.
Grant Cardone talks about 10x, doing 10 times more of what you're doing right now. That
True.
means calling 10 more people, you know, go see 10 more people, do 10 more video Zooms, go get 10 more referrals, whatever you need to do. I always tell people to work their income backwards. If you want to be and make, let's say, $500,000, you look at your product and how many sales you have to make and reverse it. Go backwards. Reverse, how much activity do you need? How many presentations? How many cold sales to get the results you want? It's all
Mhm.
numbers game. Selling is nothing but a numbers game. And that's why I loved selling. I loved it because the best salespeople are the people that master, number one, how to connect with people. Well, first of all, prospecting. Can't be afraid to prospect. Number two, oh, by the way, there's 5 ways to prospect for me: branding, of course, right? Right? Face to face, telephone, referrals, and social media. Those
Got
five.
it.
You fill those funnels, I guarantee you will be successful your whole life. I tell my kids, my daughter finally read my book, Investigative Selling, and she's a great
Finally,
girl. Well,
finally.
she graduated. She was very busy with school,
Okay,
but
got it.
she got it. She goes, "Dad, this is great." I'm like, "Yeah," and I told my son, Read the book." If you read my books, I have 25 best-selling books, 26, by the way, coming out this week, another one.
Yes, yes.
So, and I tell people that's how I got here, guys. I
Yeah.
mean, I became a student at the age of 19 and a half when I met my mentor, Tom Murphy, who managed Tom Hopkins, Dennis Waitley, Dr. Maxwell Maltz, Jay Abraham,
Oh,
Danielle Kennedy. I mean, he was friends with Jim Rohn, Bob Proctor, Zig Ziglar,
yeah.
Brian Tracy. I mean, I got lucky because he was my investor in my health clubs and I
Okay.
was his personal trainer. So I got lucky. I met a mentor that wanted to invest his life into my life and
That's
cared.
awesome.
So you
That's
got to you got to find someone that you can emulate so you can become like them. And
yeah,
you're not going to want to be everything they are. That's the
yeah.
first thing I'll tell you. Don't expect perfection. No one's perfect. I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
you want to look at things that they do well that you can adapt to your personality. So for me, like my mentor Tom Murphy is really great at creativity, right? Tom Hopkins, my mentor, is a master salesperson,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Brian Tracy is amazing at theory and goal setting. Zig Ziglar, well, what can you say? The guy was one of the nicest, most character greatest man I've ever met in my life. The
Amazing.
guy had character. The guy's all character, and he was a salesman. He could persuade people, but he had a lot of character and values, and just a really good man. And he
Yeah.
made a big impact in my life. Jim Rohn, geez, the guy was just a great guy. You'd meet him, he'd have his little fishing cap on. He loved to fish, as everybody knows, and he, loved to go to the farm up where his dad lived, and had a home in Beverly Hills also, but he had a farm. And the guy was just a great guy that was just super knowledgeable. John Maxwell. I mean, I like him so much. I worked with him on Get Motivated for almost a decade. I named
Yeah.
my boy after him. My son's name is Maxwell because of John Maxwell.
Jam
And
Maxwell.
so, I mean, I got lucky, but what I'm telling everybody, I got to meet these people and hang out with them on the road, weekends. But if you don't have what I had, that luck, you can still read all their books. You can read their books. You can listen to their audios. You can
That's
do
right.
all of this stuff, you
Hmm.
know, and learn from them. And then if you're lucky enough that you can afford a mentor like me, then you should sign up with somebody like me.
And I
I
tell you
always
what, and I got to talk about that because I'm knowing Omar. Actually, Omar has been my mentor for the past 20 years. Being in the military, as you heard, he's been one of the trainers for the army, and I was a recruiter too. But I also wanted to learn about not only leadership, persuasion, sales, real estate. And and back in the days, when I was in California, that's one of the things that, and I found out that Mr. Omar Periu was one of the founders of LA Fitness. So I started learning about the man, especially being an immigrant just like me. And funny enough, 20 years later, by sheer luck, by just meeting someone and getting into the right room at the right time, at the right place. And this is what happened. Really have to go after your dreams, have to go after everything you want to do. I got to meet Omar Peru, and we were able to actually connect. And today he's one of my mentors. So, well, like he's saying, is start by, look, there's a lot of free information out there. If there's someone that you really admire and believe that could be your mentor in anything that you want to do, because not everybody wants to do the same as others, start getting a book, read the book, find out what they got going on. Listen to, go look. A lot of us have a channel. Mr. Omar Peru is talking right now, free content, value to all of you. This is something that you guys start listening to. And if you really want to actually go even further, then just reach out, but always be, get yourself out there, get to the right people. And I'm sorry, I just had to say that.
No, thank you, Carlos. I love working with you, and you're doing great things, and so is Brock. And I'm really proud of you guys of where you're going and from where you've come from. It's amazing. You guys are amazing. And for me, the thing I said to my mentor, Tom Murphy, and he turned 88 in August. I call him on his birthday all the time, wish him a happy birthday and thank him for changing my life. And I said to him, I says, but why me? Why did I get to do all these things? And he says, son, they all call me son. It's funny. Even my Tom Hopkins, all of them call me son still. I'm like, great. I'll take it. And he goes, son, you were the most coachable person I've ever met.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So one thing I want to tell everyone is, and we're not going to go cover it, we might have to do a part 2 of this. Be someone that's coachable, number one. And number two, go to rooms where you're not the smartest person. You don't want to be the smartest person at events you go to. Like Phil Smith, a friend of ours that I speak for him at his 10X Masterminds with Kevin Harrington. He always says, I want to be the dumbest guy in the room. Every room, every event he goes to, he says, I want to be the dumbest guy there so I can learn from these other people. Now he's
that makes him the smartest guys in that room.
Well, he is, and that's why he's had 3 very successful companies that have made him millions of dollars at a very young age. And I enjoy working with him and Kevin and you guys. But I really believe that you got to look for people, because every mentor has a different gift for you. Like some are great at branding and social media, right? Or some are great at branding. One's great at social media. One's great at business. One's great at relationships. One's great at whatever it is. If you can afford to have more than one mentor, great. But if you can't, then start out with one like I did. And then, I made Mr. Murphy and my mentors a lot of money, but it was well worth it to me. And because I sacrificed so I could be around them and absorb everything they could teach me. And I think that's missing now. I think a lot of people, they get online and, God bless you. I'm proud of anyone that's out there hustling, but a lot of people don't even know what the hell they're doing. And, you're paying people stupid money, and now they leave you so broke you can't even go out and open a business. Yeah. So, find people that are going to help you and really elevate you and upskill your business instead of people that are just going to take your money and not do anything for you.
That's awesome. Go, Brock.
Yeah. So, going off of what you said, Omar, you are who you surround yourself with, right? So if you take the effort, you take the steps to go meet individuals such as yourself, or people who are in maybe a financial or a career path that may supersede yours, right? You give yourself that opportunity to learn from them. So I love that. I try to take every opportunity possible to surround myself with people who are doing much better than I am. And I'll tell you what, it's definitely been life-changing for me because, again, you are who you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounding yourself with the same people who, are on the same path, like I'll give you a story, right? So when I was younger, I was working as a bartender, right, in my 20s. And that's who I surrounded myself with. So who did I become? I became those people. I became a bartender who worked till 2, 4 o'clock in the morning, right? Went out for drinks afterwards, slept until 12 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. And granted, I had some fun, don't get me wrong, but I did absolutely nothing for myself.
Right.
I was in the same position years later, and I was wondering what was going on. It wasn't until I really got into sales, right? So I got into sales. I proceeded pretty quickly with what I was doing, and I started hiring salespeople. Then I started going to events. I started learning from people who were masters in the field, and I started weaning myself away from those so-called peers. And it wasn't until I did that I made that jump to the next level, right? Where I was making ends meet to a point where I was doing financially pretty well for myself, and it was because who I chose to surround myself with. So I think that's so important. Important.
So true, Brock. And one of my greatest mentors is Bob Proctor, who was in The Secret and Think and Grow Rich, the Napoleon Hill movie.
Mm.
And he would always say something to me. I spent weekends with him at Mr. Murphy's home and another friend, Jim's house, and we would spend weekends together. And he'd say things to me like, if you sleep with dogs, you get fleas.
I like that saying.
But you want to hang out with people that are eagles, right? Not dogs.
That's awesome.
Because if you sleep with dogs, you get fleas, And then my mentor, my other mentor, Tom Murphy, used to say to me, if you can't piss with the big dog, stay on the porch. Right? So if you're going to get off the porch, get ready to scramble with the big dogs. Because when you get off the porch, the porch is your comfort zone. Right? So if you can't piss with the big dog, stay on the porch. So you're gonna go off the porch, get ready because you're gonna get your ass kicked. And that's one of the things that I want to talk about now, since we're not gonna cover even more than a couple steps here. I think that people need to learn how to eat rejection and failure. And the way I teach people to eat rejection and failure in my programs and my boot camps in my masterminds is number one, expect failure. See, a lot of people go into business and entrepreneurs and sales, and they think everything's supposed to go easy. It doesn't go easy. You got to stay strong and flexible, expect failure, and learn to fail forward faster, right? When you fail, Les Brown, my dear friend, says you got to have comeback power, right? So you got to be able to get off the ground, right? Got to get off the ground. So when you get knocked down, expect rejection. And the way I handled rejection in the beginning of my career, now I don't even think about it because I'm not afraid of anything. So the way I did it is I didn't take it personally.
Hey, we're gonna go skydiving next month, okay?
Yeah, I've done it.
There we go.
You can't expect rejection. Get the you out of failure. Don't take it personal, and learn to fail forward faster. Number two, if you're getting a lot of no's and rejection and failure, and people not buying your stuff, something's wrong. Something's wrong with your presentation. Look at what your presentation is. Change it. Something is wrong with what you're saying, whether it's your 3-minute elevator speech or your 15-minute presentation or your close or one of the steps of your sales process is wrong. Something's wrong. Number three, everybody should invest in themselves. Invest in things that get you to the next level, right? Number four, you got to learn to eat right. You got to learn to eat right. If you don't eat right, you can't be successful. I have billionaire friends that are sitting right now in their 275-foot yachts with 10 to 20 people serving them, and the guy can't get out of the one seat.
Yeah, wow.
Because he never took care of himself, and he's a billionaire, and he's a wonderful guy, and he got all these beautiful people around him that he pays, but he can't enjoy it. Why? Because if you treat your body like Jim Rohn says, treat your body like a temple, not a woodshed, right?
Wow.
So some people feed their pets better than they feed themselves.
Yep.
That's true.
I
That's
got a
completely.
buddy of mine. I love the guy. His name is David, and this guy is the nicest guy. He's got this dog, and the dog is so healthy. But man, he treats himself like he eats terrible, and that's why he can't move around and he doesn't look good. But you got to do that. Next thing you got to move your body, exercise.
Yeah.
Even if it's just going for a walk, doing some push-ups, sit-ups. You don't need a gym, but if you do have a gym, great. But if you can move your body, you got to move your body.
Yeah.
So those are just a few things that you need to do, and you have to work with your mind. Work the 6 inches between your ears, and teach yourself things like my mentors did. Like Tom Hopkins would always say to me, I never see feel as failure, but only as a learning experience. Learn something from it, right? I did it this way until then. I'm going to teach the next one. I never see failure as failure, but only as opportunity to change course in my direction. Change
Wow.
course in your direction. The next
Yeah.
one. I never see failure as failure, but only the opportunity to practice my techniques and perfect my performance. Practice your
Yeah.
techniques and perfect your performance. When I was on Get Motivated
Uh-huh.
on tour, some of the cities we had $36,000. I mean, 36,000 people in the Pontiac Silverdome, which is huge. But some events we'd show up, and because of weather or something like a snowstorm, we'd have 100 people. And I'd look at Zig Ziglar, and we were on tour since '96. I was
Wow.
on tour and Get Motivated till he passed. And he'd say, I'd look at him, he says, well, there's only 100 people. He says, yep, son, practice. This is just a practice. Never see fears fail, opportunity to practice your techniques and perfect your performance. The
Mm.
Yeah.
next one, learn to laugh sooner. When things go wrong, and they will,
Yeah.
I never see fears failure, but only opportunity to develop my sense of humor. Learn to laugh sooner. And then the last one is learn that it's a game. It's a game. Life is a game. And you only
Yeah.
see failure, but only as a game you must play to win. And you're not going to win every time. And by the way, people are going to disappoint you. Life's not fair. And don't expect the people that you give sometimes the more and you've done so much for are the ones that are going to disappoint you first.
Mm.
Yeah.
And don't expect fairness. Don't expect perfection, and don't expect people to be there for you all the time, because they're not.
Yeah.
When they're gone, and they have to make excuses for why they do that. So I always look to uh, love yourself, and count on you first, and then count on others after. But don't expect anyone to do anything for you. That's how I've lived my life.
And,
I
and that and that is and that is good. So a lot of people see that and know that's a potential. A lot of people have the fear of rejection, and they don't want to go through that. And everything that you're saying right there is how to build resiliency. Resilience is
right,
one of those things that lacks a lot in the American people. People are afraid to even. That's why they don't go, like you were saying before, sales, because they don't want to be told no. How many guys are afraid to talk to the most beautiful woman at the club because they don't want to be rejected? So,
right.
Right.
and that goes around in everything that we do.
Yeah.
A lot of salesmen don't make a call because they don't want to be rejected. And you know what? This is when we actually have to put it into perspective how we use influence and persuasion. Now, ethically, right, as well.
So true. I went to an all boys Catholic school, Joy Catholic High. I loved that I was there because I met some great men. They're still my friends, by the way, and they were all at my wedding and stuff. And but we would meet with the sister school, St. Francis Academy, every Sunday. And that's the only time we got to meet girls besides the football games. But I was on a football team, so it would be after at the parties and things like that. But I remember there was one guy. He was this short guy, not attractive, and he always had the hottest girls. And I would go. I loved the guy. He was great. He was one of my friends because I
Yeah,
loved. I was musician, but I was also in sports and track, football, wrestling. But I was also music. I love music. So I had you have different sets of friends when you have those different categories. Like the
yeah,
music people are not going to be like the football players, right?
I got
But
it.
I had different categories of friends, which was great. And I always say to him, he says, I'd say, man, you always have the best looking girlfriends. He says, you know why, Omar? My dad told me always go up to the hottest girls because nobody asked them to dance because they're afraid because they're gonna if they say no. But he would care. He would say just go around the whole room until one of the 10 would say yes.
And again, I want to say this, and I don't want no one to take it the wrong way, but that's the low hanging fruit. What I mean by that, they're not low hanging fruit. What I mean is that that's what others are not willing to do. When others are not willing to do something and you go for it, that's when opportunity happens. Business life, getting a girlfriend, getting a
Yeah,
boyfriend, whatever you want. When others are not there, that's when opportunity, when you actually solve a problem. And she probably had a problem. No one wants to talk to her because every man was afraid. Guess what? The first guy
intimidating.
that came around
Right,
was the one that got the fruit. And again,
right,
I'm
Right.
taking it
And
all with
in your personal and professional life, it's really important to get out of that comfort zone, right? Your comfort zone is where
you.
your dreams go to die. So you've got to get out of that. I just wanted
right.
to add that point.
You got
Yeah,
to
no,
do what
no, no.
you got to do what failures won't. Do what
There we go.
failures won't. You know, Tony Robbins says, if I can't, I must, right? So you got to do what failures won't.
Yeah,
Failures are unwilling to go prospect. I hated prospecting when I started.
yeah,
I had to
yeah.
fall in love with prospecting because my mentor, Tom Murphy, said that's the hurdle that's holding you back from achieving your goals.
Wow.
So I
Okay.
had to overcome prospecting. So I have a whole course on prospecting called Hot Prospect Your Way to the Top on
Yeah.
audios and stuff. I'm on Audible and all that stuff. So
Hmm.
I had to fall in love with prospecting. Once I did, I learned that that was the key to sales, prospecting. Now there's different ways, like you guys know, because you guys use it, social media, right?
Yeah.
But that's the way that people prospect by influence, by emails, by text, by recordings, by Facebook, Google ads, all that stuff, right? So that's prospecting. But then, when you get to the point of the person talking to you, you better
Yeah.
know what to say. You better know
That's
what to
true.
say,
That's
right?
true. That's true.
If you don't know what to say, you just wasted your social media budget on that because you didn't close them. The only way social media works for me is if you're making money and
Yeah.
you got to close them.
So again, like you're saying, become a PPS, right? Professional problem solver.
Right.
And that's when opportunity opens up. And again, if you want to be that influencer, if you want to actually prospect, the only way to prospect is to be able to make sure that we have a solution to a problem that is going on right now. And in this case,
Right.
let's go back to let's go back to the girl that couldn't get the guy, your friend, the short guy. He's the one that had the solution to the problem that she had.
Right. So,
So
but I mean, that's just one example. Like for instance, I've noticed that a lot of my best salespeople, like Brock says, were not
mhm,
the ones that came in and said, they look good, they talk good, they told me how well they're gonna do, how great they used to be. I call them my Eustace, I told you, and the next thing you know, they couldn't do it. And then you get somebody that wasn't, you know, a guy who came in or a gal, and I took one guy to the mall and bought him some clothes because he used to come in with these clothes. I'm like, you're never going to sell anybody in this. So I bought him a suit, one suit, and he wore the same suit every day. And the guy became my top producer because he had and this is what I want you guys to all know. You
yeah,
got to have the heart of a champion. You cannot measure a woman or a man's heart. If they have the heart of a champion, they're going to go and do whatever it takes to be, do, have, right? Zig
yeah.
Ziglar says you got to be, come, do it to have it. You cannot measure the heart of a man or a woman.
Wow. All right, so we've been almost an hour here, and we're gonna continue. I think this is a topic that we should definitely continue.
Yeah.
And in our next episode, we're definitely gonna continue this influence and persuasion. But before we go, who has been, and we're gonna go around the room, who has been the greatest influence of persuasion, or someone that persuaded you in your career, in your whole life? So I know we spoke about a lot of them, but who, if you had to pick your top three, who are they, Omar?
Well, it was Tom Murphy, my
Tom
number
Murphy.
one. Tom Murphy was the greatest influence because he brought me to self development,
Nice.
and I still talk to him. And I met him when I was 19. And I'll never forget the day he walked in. He's from El Paso, Texas, 6'3", tall, handsome man. And, he just wanted to get, and he had he pulled up in a Mercedes Benz, like the most expensive Mercedes Benz you could buy. I'd never seen this car before. And he gets out, and I thought to myself, if I could be like this guy. And he had this big chain with a gold eagle, like huge. And it had all diamonds. It had this wing like this, going like that, all diamonds. And it said Champions Unlimited. And that's the company he owned, that he managed all these speakers. So he really helped me a lot because he guided me, right?
Yeah.
Number 2 is Zig Ziglar. Zig Ziglar to me was not only a great mentor, but a great man. He taught me how to be a man.
Awesome.
And of course, my father was a great influence on me. My dad had a 3rd grade education, but man, the guy would build things up that you couldn't even imagine he could build without even knowing the language.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was a big influence. But those would be my 3.
Awesome. How about you, Brock?
Oh man. So I definitely have to start off with my family. My grandfather, Italian, right? So hardcore Italian. I mean, like outside cleaning rocks Italian. And so when I was growing up, he really taught me, why we do things and what the outcome should be. And it's not for money. It's to look at a project, he worked with his hands a lot, right? So, and to look at something that you've created and say, wow, I did that. And then my next would have to be my father. I remember, doing chores, doing the lawn, and I was placing sod when I was like, I don't know, 10 years old. And I thought every kid did that until, I started talking to other kids in my neighborhood, and they're like, what's placing sod? And if you don't know what that is, that's literally getting pallets of sod and putting it down. And a satisfaction of a job well done, right? So, again, kind of the same mentality, looking back at something and going, okay, the reason I did this was because of this outcome and for me to feel good about it, right? So I feel like that's missing out of a lot of people's mindset nowadays, right? It's all about what can somebody give me as opposed to how can I feel better by doing what I'm doing every day, right?
Yeah, by doing a great job. There's a little story, Brock, not to interrupt you, but
no, go ahead.
And there's a story about that my mentor taught me. It's about a carpenter that was it worked for 30 years for this one builder, and he went to the builder and he says, I'm going to be I want to retire. I'm tired. I want to retire, and he says, yeah, but you're my best carpenter. You're my best builder. He says, yeah, but I'm going to retire. He says, do me a favor. I got this lot, and I want you to build me one more house. Just build me one more house. He said, I really don't. He said, just build me the house. Just build me a house because I want you to build this house for me. And just, so he went out and he gave him the land and he started building the house, and he used shoddy workmanship, and he didn't give it his best, and he didn't give it his all. And at the end, when he came, he says, well, the house is done. And he says, well, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so grateful for all the 30 years of loyalty and dedication. Here are the keys to your house. So he built the shittiest house for himself. So that's what I think that people that have a pride in their work, Brock, like you said, a lot of different groups have pride in their work. They look at their work they want to do. It isn't the money; it's they want to do a great job. So I agree with you. So continue. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, like you were saying, it's that pridefulness. It's nowadays I feel like everybody does it just for money. So I mean, like, again, going back to my childhood, everybody, all the kids around me were getting money to do their chores, and I thought it was so unfair that I had to mow the lawn twice a week because it's South Florida, it rains every day at 3:00, and I had to pick weeds and do all these things, and I was like, oh, this is so unfair. And then looking back at it now, I am so grateful because that gives me such a different perspective on happiness.
Right.
Right. And yes, money. I am a highly money motivated individual. But I'm more motivated by, again, being prideful in my work, taking a step back and saying, cool, I built this, I did this, right?
Right.
That's what really motivates me. And then from a professional standpoint, I'd have to say one of my biggest mentors would have to be Grant Cardone. Just from, being in sales for as long as I have been, I've been watching him for so many years now. And one of the biggest things that stuck with me that he says is take massive action, right? A lot of people stop there, take massive action, right? But it's take massive action until your problems become even bigger problems. Meaning, hey, if you're having trouble prospecting, take such big action that now that your problem isn't prospecting, it's you have too many people on your calendar. Right. And I mean, that can be applied to so many different facets in life. And that one philosophy is kind of stuck with me throughout my career in sales. And if I think I have a problem, take so much action where that problem is now nothing. And now I'm replaced with such a bigger problem because I exceeded what that problem originally presented. So, yeah.
Very good. Yeah. And I've had the pleasure. He did and still does the training, automobile training for JM Lexus, 14 states. And I had the pleasure of speaking with him on that stage. And then, of course, he's good friends with Kevin Harrington. So we did something at the pitch event a couple of years ago. Yeah.
Cool.
The guy's he's a go-getter, man.
Yeah. I had the luck to sit down with him once for about an hour and a half with some of my sales reps. We went to Ventura there, and the guy is an absolute genius, and he is not censored whatsoever. Right. And I really like that. So,
you know what? Usually people that are there are never censored. And I know that for sure. You hear them censor in front of people, but when you're in one-on-one, you hear the best stories ever. And guys, so it'll be me, right? So same. And I think like successful people in life, you always have almost the same type of upbringing. I take it back to my days back in South America. My mom had to leave the country because she needed to come to the United States to help us out. We were very poor. At age 10, 9, 10, I was already like half a man of the house because my dad was working. I was the one paying all the bills. My dad wouldn't trust me to actually go to the center of the city. There was no internet. There was no paying this by mail. You needed to go directly and pay. And I would carry money, get on the bus. I remember this vividly. And I would go stand in line with everybody else. Everybody else look at me like, what is this kid doing here? But at that age, and I compared to my own kids, I'm like, I think I'm doing a disgrace to what to right now to the upbringing. But that taught me a lot. My dad, even though that he had no option, he taught me how to become very responsible, how to think outside the box with money. And even though they were very poor, we made it work. That came and brought me to here. I mean, I'm a massive budgeter. And I'm not saying budgeter, I know how to spend money to the point that I'm able to know how to invest money. And that's something that taught me a lot. And I learned it back from my years back in South America. So for that, thank my dad. But now coming to the United States and seeing where I was and see what I was able to do, my eyes opened up. And like I said, I have three main, when it comes down to wealth management and investments, three main mentors that either inadvertently or the one-on-one have helped me. And that is Mr. Omar Periu, like I said. I mean, right there, I follow him. And I said since I was 18 years old when I started reading all of his books and learning about investment and everything. And like you guys heard me say before, I also did a thesis because I became one of the coaches for leadership for Dr. John Maxwell. And then, as Brock said too, 10X. I mean, I follow the 10X. I leave the 10X. Everything is 10X for us to the point that I think got tattooed in my bicep too.
There you go, 10X.
Yeah, Mr. Grant Cardone. So, and again, these people, and don't get me wrong, they are not perfect, but they got so many. They've been able. There's one of those people that've been able to actually do the things that we want to do. They've done it so many other ways that didn't work. That now are teaching us the way that actually works. So, if you want to get somewhere, learn from someone that have walked the walk and talked the talk, and is able to take it from point A to point B the fastest. And that's what you got to do. And guess what? Any investment is going to cost you money. So stop being cheap and spend the goddamn money into someone that is going to get you there the fastest. Because that's what you want. If you want to create wealth, or if you want to be a mediocre life, don't even pay attention to what I just said.
Yeah,
Turn
you know,
the-
you
Go ahead,
gotta
go ahead.
be able to realize that when you have mentorship and you pick the right mentors, you've got leverage, right? And as I always say, your goal is to become a bigger container. If you're only this big of a container, God won't give you more than you can handle. That's why people lose everything, because you didn't become a bigger container. That's the only reason, just so you know. So your goal is to become a bigger container. So, you know, God gives you more, then you keep it. But you got to be a bigger container.
Awesome,
Okay?
awesome. Thank you, Omar. Thank you,
Great.
Brock. It's a
Thank you
Saturday.
very much.
I
Thanks,
love
guys.
the talks, and I hope and I see the comments in between LinkedIn and all the social media. Thank to all of you to actually tuning in on a Saturday. Thank you for giving us at least an hour of your time. We just want to be able to bring you so much content, so much value that we want to make sure that you guys see that we really truly care for you, and having Omar Periu with you guys and giving you everything that he said today. That costs money. It is free today. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. I hope you have a great weekend. Another thing is, if you've been in the Florida area, and I know the Brock and Omar are there, I praise. I go to a lot of you. If you know what, I hope that you guys are doing well. And anyone, I mean, we're actually going to be helping out through the Red Cross. That's something that we're going to be doing as part of the Credit Assassins, Brock. And anything that we can do in order to help out. But our praise goes out to all of you that has suffered damages or even lost of family members and loved ones. So hope you guys are doing well. And we'll see you next week on another episode of Business and Coffee.
See you guys.
Bye. Thank you, guys.